Good evening. Good day, everyone, or night, everyone. This is Truth and Oneness Discussions with Enlightened Living, Scorpio and Aquarius, yada, yada, yada. All right, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to start go on this journey with everyone. The idea of where things are at, where we're going. Like, we're all on this journey together. We're all taking this experience. And where are we going next from here on out? Like, elections are coming up. The results of the elections are coming up and everything
Sure
like that.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, literally tomorrow. And a lot of people, especially in October, a lot of weird energy, a lot of panicking, a lot of frustrations. And here we are, just about to hit the elections. Let's see where things go from here.
Was there a lot of panicking and frustration? I think I'm kind of almost unconnected from like the social networking or like not reality, but that reality, I guess, of all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's because of our lifestyle that we're living. Yeah. What do you mean? Go ahead.
Well, it's especially in October. It's the last full month you get to vote, so there's a lot of people like vote, everybody vote, everybody. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, where you stand? Who are you voting for? Like, there's a lot of that kind of frustration. A lot of people pushing each other to vote. There's a lot of that kind of a lot of tension, and sports are reopening, so people are like really trying to figure out like how to do that again, and everything's reopening, everything's changing, everything's adapting.
And now the elections are coming
up.
And the word on the street is after the election, of course, the rest of the year, there is going to probably be some other big like thing that's going to cause people to be like, quote, locked down and whatnot, whatever that might be. And so, yeah, it's sort of like what do you call it? The wave, the sine wave, the wave, up and down wave until the end of the year. So yeah, I guess we kind of want to make sure everyone's writing it okay. If you can obviously see a lot went on in October apparently, but you can see two different perspectives here. One person here knew about it. I guess I don't really pay attention that much to social media as much as I was before, and yeah, I didn't hear any of this back and forth stuff. But how did that affect me? Well, I noticed that there were because there were planetary shifts that are obviously affecting what's happening here on this Earth plane. And that I think you can feel, and also whether you want to or not, depending on how, I guess, of a tuned in or like empathy, wherever you are, you can kind of pick up on the energies of the Earth and maybe even closer, like the people around you, even if you're not in a big town or city or whatever. But so definitely it was like there was an up and down kind of thing going on throughout October with tense energy, and then kind of calmed down, and it went up to tense energy again, and then calmed and or whatever, and then like the full moon here, leading up to it was definitely some kind of tense energy, and it's kind of calmed down again. So I've noticed that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because it's like I don't share, obviously, with like some of the stuff I read in the news and whatnot with you. So it's like you actually, without knowing, felt all these energy shifts and everything like that. I was reading about it, and, like, I got to see like why people were tense, and like you were just picking up planetary shifts and actually like people's energy and stuff like that, because our kids pick that kind of stuff up too.
Maybe even mine maybe too. You were getting tense reading the stuff and I was picking up your energy.
I wasn't really getting tense at all. I was just like, to me it's just almost like reading the tabloids.
Yeah.
I don't really get riled up by any of that kind of stuff anymore. I'm always just like, that's interesting, because if you read the negative side, it's always almost like humorous now. Instead of being like frustrating, you're just like, really? That's what they're trying to do? Or that's what they think? It's interesting. I wonder why they're doing that, because that doesn't make very much sense, but okay.
Alright.
But, yeah, it's pretty interesting. October was just kind of like a weird month in general for me. And it's like, yeah, there was definitely some times where it was like, almost felt like the energy was about to explode. Like, there's so much tension. I was like, what is going on? And you just feel it. You couldn't really see it, but you could definitely, it was definitely there. Especially if we went into any area that had like a large
Lots of
amount of people, it
yeah.
was very tense. But people
On
tried to
some
do their
days,
best. Yeah.
because like sometimes we'd go and it was like very peaceful. So it's like I
Yeah.
guess that was an up and down thing. Yeah, there's definitely some times where it seemed like, what the heck is going on here? And then like other times like, wow, it was so
Yeah.
chill. But yeah, so that's another just kind of like be aware of what's going on around you, but don't necessarily intertwine yourself with it if you can
Yeah.
help it, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, like I said, November is coming up, and the word on the street is everyone keep your eye out for whatever. But so here's the thing: whatever is going on, the next month and the next couple of months before the end of the year, obviously, what we're gonna try to do, and what I would recommend for others to do, it's kind of like at the beginning of all this stuff. It's like if you're in a situation where you are told to like not go anywhere or whatever, I would use that opportunity to do some introspection. It's kind of what is it, the spiritual growth, if you're into that kind of stuff, the amount that you can actually gain from the quiet time is pretty significant, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned like so much over this past year just from disengaging from like all the hustle and bustle of the world. So any situation can be turned into a beneficial and positive situation for your own like spiritual growth, whatnot, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's how the world and everything should be looked at right now. In your circumstances or anything, don't necessarily look at it as a push and pull. Someone's trying to control us and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Don't try not to feed into that narrative if you can,
Yeah.
right? Turn off your TV and news if you have to, and social media, and just be in your present moment and do what kind of fulfills your like deep desires, or not deep desires, but like what you want to do, pretty much.
Yeah.
What makes you happy to do. For me, it's frequent walks in nature, meditation, and sun gazing. Reading lots of different spiritual related books and whatnot. So yeah, I guess it's cool to do your thing. Be like painting or cooking, That's another one. Eating good food. That's another one for me.
Yes. Yes.
And just remember to enjoy. And that's really like the point of it. I feel like I have to keep like saying this. It's like the point of it all is really to enjoy your life. Enjoy it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like we were talking about, it's like if there does come to be like quote unquote in a lockdown, you can't go anywhere. You like just like you're saying, look in, figure out like when you have this time, just sitting and not having anything to
Quiet
do,
time.
quiet time,
We're
like
in timeout, everybody.
yeah, it's like think about it. I mean, that's kind of like what timeout is for kids and adults. Anyways, like you get to have a chance to think about like what's going on, what happened, why did this happen, what's going on. Then
Who am I?
exactly, who am I? What
What am I
makes you
here for?
happy? What makes you tick? Like, if you haven't learned how to cook for yourself, why don't you just practice cooking for yourself? You might mess up. Who cares? If you want to try something new, try it. I mean, there's no one. It's like just do what you want to do. Figure out who you want to be. Like that is the perfect time to do it.
But at the same time, because I know obviously the big narrative is that yeah, they're trying to control us, force this, and that, and the new world order.
Yeah. No order.
Yeah, it's like okay, that is only going to happen if that is what we want to happen as a whole humanity, and that's not where it's going anyway. So I feel like even if we wanted, whoever wanted it to happen was pushing for it more, it still wouldn't happen, if that made sense. That was a lot of words there.
Yeah.
So I feel like in general, humanity existence, we have nothing to worry about except for using this quiet time to develop ourselves, you know, strengthen our consciousness and develop our connection with our divine nature, right? And look at it more like that. And but that's still, as I said, not saying you're giving in to whatever the opposition, the other side of the coin, is saying to do. If you're on that side where it's like, I want my freedom back or whatever. It's not like we're giving in to that. Let's say there's a divine plan. There's a bigger picture to all of this, that everything that's going on right now. I guess that's how I see it. And so it may appear one thing is happening, but really, if you back up a lot further, there's this whole other perspective of what's going on, right? That kind of thing. And so I guess that's why it's kind of hard to be like, well, what's it? People should. I know there's a lot of different channels out there that are saying, make sure you do this, and don't do this, and the fear, and like they can't do this to us, that kind of stuff. But you can't really approach it that way. It's kind of like that's what I said. It's kind of what we were saying, I guess. Kind of go back into your space of like what feels good to do what you're doing. What feels good to the individual to do what feels. All right, never mind.
Yeah,
you can
I hear
you.
Yeah, definitely do not buy into any kind of fear. I mean, Roosevelt said it best: "There is nothing to fear but fear itself." It's like they want you to fear things. They want you to do what they're telling you to do.
Yeah, but so like
you don't need to.
basically just drop all that and kind of put yourself in your own little world and do what you want to do in that world. We are at a campsite pretty much for the next 3 months, and we're gonna be chilling out, and having fun, and foraging if there's anything to forage, and like I don't know, going to town whenever we want, kind of like we've been doing really. Until we get a pull to go in a different direction. And literally for the last year and a half, we've pretty much been following like some kind of inner guidance of some sort that's been telling us to go in this direction or that. And it actually works really well. You'd be surprised by what happens when you let go of your, let's say, your mind, your ego. I don't know.
It's definitely your ego.
The ego mind trying to direct your life. If you let that go and sort of and follow your inner guidance more, so you'd be really surprised where it leads you. And it never leads you in the wrong direction, even if at the moment it seems like it might have been the wrong direction. There's always a bigger, better, because your inner guidance is never going to lead you in the wrong direction. It's going to take you through experiences that you need to get. So when you get to that better place, you actually can, I guess, utilize, handle it better, or to your fullest potential, or whatever, however you want to say. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once we let go, it's like it's kind of a hard thing to do. Is like let go. You're like, wait, but if I let go, am I gonna fall? It's like, well, you might not. See where it takes you first. It's like it might seem like a fall, and then when you look back, you're like, actually, that wasn't a fall at all.
Yeah.
It's like, so kind of just like figure out what you want to do next.
Don't be afraid of the unknown.
And what this brings me to is the next question for you is, you've been reading some interesting things, like you're saying. Mm-hmm. Have you read anything interesting you'd like to share?
Of course, I have. All right, so we're gonna never mind. Sorry, yeah, so we can't edit. I mean, never mind. Okay, yeah. So I recently read an interesting book. Dang it. It's called and it's an audiobook, but it is a real book. Obviously, that you can find Elisabeth Haich, which the book's called Initiation. And it's really interesting because it goes through her. She's a kind of like a spiritual person, or was a spiritual like I don't know, guiding person. Or anyway, anyone can look her up. A lot of people already know who she is. It was my first encounter with her books and stuff. But anyway, so the book is about her going through her life, kind of growing up, and then having this experience of like remembering a past life when she was in Egypt as an initiate to a spiritual school, mastery school, and then kind of what happened from there. And I thought that book was quite interesting, and I do encourage other people to read it, because it kind of just, first of all, it highlights sort of or it not highlights, but I guess brings focus to the reincarnation cycle. There we go. How that kind of works a little bit on this earthly plane, and kind of like, sorry, it's been a little bit since I went through this book. I didn't take notes, so best thing to do if you want to know anything about it is just to go read it yourself, or you can listen to me stumble through the highlights of it. But yeah, the reincarnation cycle. At least for me, because I already know, and I've done a lot of research on reincarnation. Obviously, I've had out of body experiences. I know that the soul is separate, or like your spirit or whatever you want to call it is a separate thing than your body. Like you can come out of your body and you're still like in existence, and your body is just kind of like the thing you wear while you're here on this earth physical plane. But when you hear it from someone's perspective and how they've gone through different lives and the reasoning behind their different lives was really interesting. So that's kind of what that part of that book is about. Yeah, did you want to mention anything? Because I talked.
Yeah, I remember some of the things you're talking about. It was actually very fascinating. It's like I don't want to put too many spoilers out there for anyone that might actually
Do
read
the
it.
spoilers, because the thing is, I'll just put in the description
Okay.
boxes. This could be a spoiler.
There's a spoiler. Okay. Yeah, it's like the interesting thing is like when you were talking about like how when she's going through the initiation or coming up to the process of the initiation, like how people were warning her, like maybe you should do some more life experiences before you do this. No, 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 no. Very kind of egotistical on the person's part, like very kind of like uppity, I guess you'd say. Like, no, I don't need to do that. I'm beyond that. And then what ends up happening is very fascinating.
Well, it's just that so she's in the school. She's the daughter of the pharaoh, and they are not human. They're part human or something like that. I wish I had taken notes, but basically, so she's the daughter of the pharaoh. Her uncle is the teacher of the spiritual school, and they initiate students from all over the area, whether they're full, whether they're part human or part whatever these beings were or whatever. But basically, they initiate them into the spiritual mastery school. And so she had to go to her uncle to be initiated also because she wanted to be a spiritual master also. And they said that to go through this initiation process, you have to have certain levels of experience in life, and there's one level that you're missing, and you probably should get experience here before. And she was like, no, I don't want to. I mean, I can withstand that, whatever. So they eventually they let her go through, and at some point during her, as she goes through and she passes her initiation, but afterward she falls sort of into that trap of that one area that they said she should have had more experience in, and that I think causes her to fall from grace, fall into the cycle of reincarnation. Basically, I think is what happened or what you take from it. But actually, the way the book is set out, you kind of, when you look at it, you kind of don't even really know 100% what's going on when you really think about it. Because, like, how do we know that? I mean, how do we really know anything, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so and this is the experience that Elisabeth, the writer of the book, she's, I guess, daydreaming about this whole experience, and then realizes she just had a past life, like, memory. But yeah, so she falls from grace, and then she goes through a reincarnation cycle up into where she's Elisabeth, and then now she realizes, oh, okay, and then she's remembering everything back to her initiation in Egypt, back to that point in time, and then onward. But no, so that was interesting. Yeah. So what does that tell you? Why was that part interesting to you, Joseph?
It was interesting because, like, as they stated before that even happened, it was like they kept telling her because you are pretty high up already spiritually. The higher you up, higher level you are, the further you're gonna end up falling. And when
if you fall,
if you do fall,
and falling is not like a bad thing. And I guess I need to bear this. Yeah. It's just when you learn these codes of conduct at a higher spiritual being, and then you break some of those codes or rules, then your consciousness falls, basically. And so if you're at a low level, or if you fall, you don't go very, very far down. And fall is just you're further away from being conscious, pretty much. Yeah. That's what falling is. So if you're higher up on that scale and you break one of those rules, then you're going to fall. You may fall further or faster.
Yeah.
The fall may be harder.
Yeah, it was just fascinating because then, like, afterwards, like the different lives she had to go through, like there was like really hard struggles because she had so much before. So like the things that she used to be kind of taking for granted, like, oh, I'm part of the royal family, I could do anything I want, I can eat whatever I
don't
want.
know if she was taking it for granted, though.
Well, she wasn't really taking it for granted. She didn't really ever have to think about it.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the whole taking it for granted idea is like when she actually had the other past lives where like, oh, they're hungry, they're in poverty, like it's like before she never even knew what that was because she was part of the royal family kind of thing. It's like she never worried about food, she never worried about being warm, she never worried about being
so you're saying she was able to experience
she got to experience
of existence pretty
all
much.
the things like from the lower levels and like working her way up. She got to experience all that kind of stuff. It's not like a bad thing. It was just interesting to me that that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, and then my question from that is that what we all do? I think that's what we all go through, and not because of it has to look like it's some misstep from us, but sometimes people make the choice to do that. I feel like to experience pretty much every level of existence, I guess, so you can have perspective. How you can have perspective if you don't experience every level? But yeah, she went from that Pharaoh, the daughter of the Pharaoh, and a spiritual initiate, and she remembers lives where she was a beggar, a poor beggar, for many lifetimes where she just was at the physical level of trying to navigate through life. And then she finally, I guess, kind of got to where she was in this last lifetime, and she started to wake up sort of and gain some of her spiritual abilities back and start to remember that she had this past life in Egypt. So yeah, but yeah, no, it kind of brings, and then how also she matched up with that's another thing. So how she matched up with some of her teachers and like some of her fellow students and just some of the people that were around her in her Egyptian area, how they all followed each other through some of those lifetimes. Like the last life that she was in, she had her the boy that she had her family had adopted, reincarnated as a yogi colleague basically of hers in her last lifetime. And then I think her son in her last lifetime was I want to say it was either her teacher or her immediate teacher in her Egyptian lifetime. And
what's fascinating about that too is how not only did she eventually recognize them, they recognized her as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that made it fascinating. It's not like, oh, I know you, you're like so and so, and they're like, what? No, it's like they actually knew deep down, like that they knew each other from before. They're like, well, how do I know you?
Mm-hmm. And then she was even talking about how, and she was wondering about some other person from her Egyptian lifetime, and then like she had been at some kind of book signing or whatever, or some kind of talk, and then she immediately saw the person in the audience. And they went up to them and was like, "I know you." They knew exactly who they were, and they looked at her and they were like, "I know you too, but how do we know?" So that also kind of just that, like I said, kind of highlights the reincarnation cycle. How if you are out wherever, or the people that you come to you in your life, there's a good chance that you guys have experienced life before in other lifetimes, right? And the people you see and you're like, I know you, you probably do know them. And yeah, so that was kind of interesting, just kind of seeing that kind of story through someone else's experiences.
Yeah, because it's like I haven't had that happen for me personally, but
you haven't, even for me.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
But it's like you definitely get a kind of like a pull towards people. I guess that might be
that is it. Yeah,
but it's like I've never had like the direct recognition of like, hey, I know you kind of a thing. But it's very fascinating because it's like I think more people are starting to realize like the people in their lives are like that, and that helps people understand that reincarnation, the process itself, actually is a thing and not just like make believe like a fairy tale like they try to tell you all the time. Just in general, like everywhere, like in the media through stories and everything like that. That's kind of like ha ha ha, I'm gonna be reincarnated. No, they're like actually like, no, it's actually a thing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, almost every older religion talks about
Yeah,
reincarnation. It's like in older spiritual practices, more ancient, they, yeah, duh, come on, y'all, come on, everyone,
yeah,
we're on the reincarnation train, come on. But also, but yeah, and then it brings me to just quickly talking about. I know at least in the past, maybe it was a couple of years ago when I was starting to research, a lot of stuff. The whole there's this idea of the reincarnation trap, like, oh, we're trapped in this reincarnation
mm.
thing, and this is just other people putting stuff out from their, I guess you could say, fear-based, fear-based information of the reincarnation trap and how do we get out of it? How do we escape Earth? That's not what hopefully anyone gets from what we're talking about. It's not a
Yeah,
big trap. Even when we read that the Prison Planet that's on our YouTube channel here, the Prison Planet, the alien was talking about how the Earth is kind of like a prison planet. But even at the end of that, they make the point of saying that this is all something we've all agreed to. This is a game because it is. That's what ISBs do. ISBs. We are
yeah,
because we choose to be, right?
yeah,
We set up games and new experiences so that we can play and have new experiences. And that's what this Earth experience is about. And that's what the whole reincarnation part is. You feel like you're trapped. Yeah, we had a game where we set up a trap so that we would be reincarnated several times and forget everything so that we could relearn things at some point. So yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about enjoying this game, even though there's a lot of quote terrible things that happen, but none of it's real, you guys. In that
yeah,
sense, the only thing that's real is the, what do you call it, love, the love source, infinite consciousness sort of energy. That's real, but everything that's further away from that is not necessarily true or real. That's kind of like the result of our imaginations and want to of experiencing other things, right?
yep.
But yeah, so yeah, no, that's interesting. And another really interesting thing about this book, which I really wish I had taken more notes on, was while Elisabeth is the author of the book, she is having her past life memories as the Pharaoh's daughter, um, getting ready to go through her initiation or doing that. She's talking with her uncle, who is the teacher of this school of mystery school or initiation school, whatever. And the discussions they have are super interesting. And even some of the ones she has with her father are really interesting because they talk about like the how the Earth plane is kind of not really the Earth plane, but they talk about like the zodiac, for example. They go through like the whole the faces of God and the different like zodiac elements and the different signs in the zodiac and how they're placed over the earth to when someone incarnates into the earth plane. How that all works basically. Why the zodiac's so important. How it's so important to specific points in the earth and also like to like yeah the specific person and how that works, and it was really interesting. They talk about that. They talk about sacred geometry. They talk about sacred sacred geometry, and how super important that is for the different dimensions of existence. Basically, how um, man, I wish I had like quoted this, but like basically how you go from like the triangle, how that's a sacred like um, symbol, and then the square is like the next um, move to a different dimension because it's like the triangle with a three and one make four or something. I don't know. I should have taken better notes, but it's like going into the square is like the into this physical realm, but like how this triangle is in every square, so that's why you have to go within to that sacred triangle form because that's where you find God. And it's just like super interesting. Man, I wish I had like if anything, if anyone goes to that book, go to that part and take notes because you may get a lot out of it. And I'll probably go back. Well, I think I'll find that information in other places I look, but no, but it brings up how important geometry and how it actually works in just moving through dimensions and how this dimension is set up a certain way based on geometry and like rules of geometry and how you go from one plane to the other or whatever. But yeah, you can talk a little bit. But if I don't have notes, it's kind of hard to like.
That is pretty interesting because like they, especially when you think about like, even if you just take away from the spiritual part again, like how it even in school and stuff like that, trigonometry, which is just the study of triangles, is an entire course. No other mathematics is like that, but the triangle itself is an entire course by itself, and they have tons and tons and tons of books on this stuff. It's
one of the sacred symbols or shapes, because there's 3 sides, and so each one represents a part of the, like the, what is it, the physical, the spiritual, and the God or something like that. I don't know. You guys have to listen to or read the book.
I was like, well, that's good. That's like you forgot some of it because then it gives people an opportunity to kind of like be like, what? If it sparks your interest, please go and listen to it, read it, whatever you need to do, because it's like it does have a lot of great information into it, and it might actually wake something up inside of you because there's something there for everyone.
Yeah.
There's something there. Yeah. And kind of brings us to a closing here in a little bit is what does all this kind of stuff mean? Where is this all taking us? It's like the thing is, again, as we started, like don't let everything like kind of take you down. Everything is good. Everything is the experience. Just kind of figure out like where you want to be, where you want to go. Like figure out who you are and what.
The thing is, we're all headed to the same. We're all headed to the same place, which is to experiencing this earthly plane at the moment, but headed back toward the light, pretty much toward the divine conscious energy, and we're all opening up to that at our own levels and your own pace or whatever. And that's completely fine because it's all about the individual experience. But no, one other thing I wanted to bring up about the book was
go for it.
They talked about the different that was when I was saying she was not fully human in this book. In her Egyptian past life, she wasn't fully human. So they did talk a lot about sort of the seed races of the earth, how there's like the earth beings, and then they talked about their own species or whatever, how because they talk about I keep like repeating myself, I feel like the different like skull shapes, for example. They had like elongated skulls because the back of their like brain was like larger for like to hold more consciousness and whatever, and so they looked physically different from like what the humanoid looked like. And I think there was one other, I feel like there was a third main type of humanoid or whatever being that they were talking about as well. But so that brings up again, so are we just human, or are we part alien, or what's going on here? And the thing is, first of all, back up a little bit, it doesn't really matter on the grand scheme of things, but I think that from this book and from several others I have read, it does appear that there was the human race, which was from the earth plane, and then during the early times of the human race, there were some of these extraterrestrial, if you wanted to say, sure, whatever, beings that also merged their DNA with humans and created other groups of beings, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Groups.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And there were certain qualities from each one. And we have to make sure it doesn't get to a point where who's better than who, because I know that's a big discussion that's out there right now, that who's like more spiritual and more pure, quote, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and on and on. But it's not about that. We have to keep reminding everybody we're all equal on this earthly existence, and even on the spiritual. But like nothing, there's no good and bad. There's no right and wrong. There's no judgment pretty much across the board, because we've all been, for the most part, everything. We've all gone into the place of ignorance and back several times, potentially. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so the earth plane, from their point of view of this book, it was the earth humans, and there was different extraterrestrial beings that came in and did their thing. And then there was known, I think, back then too. People were more aware of it, but and they so oh, and they talked a little about the pyramids too. How they used the pyramids for, or how they built them. Yeah, they used sound energy waves to move the blocks and set up the pyramids and all that. Which I think that's something hopefully we all know now, right? But and how they actually use the pyramids for, they use them to help with this bringing down the consciousness or the spiritual. Use it for spiritual stuff. Okay, let's put it that way. But no, it just gets a lot deeper than like when you really start digging, you find a lot more stuff, and it just gets more interesting to me. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think for the next book I read, I'll take a little bit more notes. I'm just kidding.
No, I think you did pretty well on this, because the thing is, like, it gives people an idea, kind of gives you like a little thing to get your taste buds going, and
get your taste buds,
and then you can actually like dive into it for yourself and figure out like what rings your bell.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's like, yeah, everything is good, everything is great, everybody. Like, just kind of allow things to kind of settle in, marinate, and figure out what is coming next. But don't let it stress you out. Please don't let it stress you out. That energy, that your stressed energy, does spread to other people. Kind of like find your inner peace and like start to grow from there. Figure out like exactly who and where you want to go.
And if that's like not anywhere far or whatever, if you just want to sit in, I don't know, it's basically, enjoy your present being in your present moment of what you're doing, and enjoy yourself and have fun. Have fun. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Yes,
have fun.
Yes, everybody. Have fun. All right.